In case you just joined in, you're watching Smart 24 and this is SMB. My name is RITAH KABANYORO with engineer Idiri here, and we're talking about tools expenditure of the parliament, or parliamentary tools expenditure, and you were still discussing with us the fairness of the 200 million of a vehicle purchase.
Actually, the question the public is having is that maybe they have a feeling that the 200 million given to MPs for cars is a lot of money.
And that's what the concerns them
to me, actually it is even less. It may not even buy the more comfortable vehicle a member of parliament deserves.
How comfortable does a member of parliament deserve?
If a person is to think properly and focus on his work, he must be given favorable conditions. So these members of parliament, if we limit them to driving, let's say VTs driving, let's say you are going to always find your member of parliament stuck on the road. So they are supposed to be given these nice vehicles, chauffeured with exes, chauffeured with everything, such that wherever he is, he's only focused at serving his people, he's focused at serving the country. But if you now, on top of legislating, he adds in a vehicle which is a mechanical condition, a vehicle which cannot travel up to his constituency.
But with 200 million, there are vehicles of even 50 million that you can buy, very poshly and new, and they cannot have, mechanical problems, and surely can allow you to drive. Why are you saying 200 million is even less?
They are there, but now we are looking at a person who represents Ugandans in one arm of the government. So if the government really expects a lot from him, like for us who graze cows, if you're expecting milk from a cow, it must feed well, and it must be looked at very well for you to have good yields. Even if it's a banana plantation, if you are to yield very good matoke, you must look after that plantation. So if we are to get better results out of members of parliament, we must look after them properly, such that they are out of these other things that can divert their attention, and they keep focused at legislation, oversight, they do their work of parliament. Otherwise, if we are to always say, no, this is too much money, the issue is not money, because the money is coming from the budgetary allocation of the legislative budget. Which means they are not attacking other different budgets.
But I understand that's where my concern comes in as a watchdog. If I see the the spending or the expenditure in regards to budget, keeps on piling. Keeps on piling, and then we're still lacking hospital beds instead of, the money being allocated for other areas really that really need attention. And then we are topping it up onto these other areas. That's where my concern comes from.
Actually, when we talk of beds, and we mix beds with the beds of the hospitals with now vehicles of the members of parliament, now there we are trying to mix budgets. It should be the planning from the Ministry of Health to know that this financial year we are buying beds for hospitals, and that is a specific budget for Ministry of Health. But in this scenario, the budget now, which is buying vehicles, buying iPads, making offices, is strictly under the legislature budget.
Yes, I do
Even
understand.
if they don't buy
Where does it come from? Doesn't it come from the Ministry of Finance?
It all comes from, there is what we call the ministerial policy statement. So each ministry is supposed to prepare a policy statement that entails whatever they are planning to do in that specific budget. So now, it is not parliament to plan for beds in hospitals. These
so you're pushing it to other sectors.
Yes, these are planned under
to plan better for themselves.
Yes, to plan better for themselves.
So this is interesting. Yes, please.
It is under a specific ministry that you plan for what you are going to do.
Okay.
In the next financial year. Even right now, I think they have already started preparing ministerial statements for the next financial year. So now, if the Ministry of Health does not put in beds for hospitals, Parliament will not put in beds, because it's not their role. It's the role of the Ministry of Health. So now if we say Parliament, you have overspent, no, I have not overspent. I'm spending what is given to me to be spent.
And then why again does Parliament again contribute to the cutting of the budget within last month of the 40% cutting, collecting 600 billion to contribute to COVID-19? I mean, don't you see all this is impacting on the budgeting plan?
You see, the cutting of the budget is brought in by the budget constraints. Like now, when we were planning, when we were preparing the ministerial statements, we didn't put into consideration factors like COVID-19. So when these other factors come and you cross the economy, the country won't have income. So with lack of income now, of course the income now it affects the expenditure. So now they say, now that we no longer have the money to spend, why can't we make better use of what we have? Now, in making better use of what they have, they will find that they have less. So they end up cutting budgets.
Which brings me to that gap of, you know, I can say fast tackling over issues and planning process. The budget week or the budget month was in June. And this is still when the country was still also surging and identifying the variant, the Delta variant from the Ministry of Health, beginning with the first week of June, actually towards the end of May. And we were in the budget process, we were in the budget plannings. I mean, how come you really couldn't see? We have had a lockdown before. I mean, the parliament or all these ministerial sectors could not really tell it that there could be something alert here that we should focus on.
Yeah, it could have been there, but you see, when you are projecting the national budget is always derived from projections and assumptions.
Okay.
Actually, they normally assume that, assuming we get this tax from, let's say, Uganda Revenue Authority, assuming we get this tax from maybe taxes derived from TVs. So those assumptions, now what if people don't subscribe? Or what if a few subscribe? That will mean that your projections will not be met. So if your projections are not met, still they will say, okay, now let us adjust ourselves to what we have. But still, each and every sector will plan for what it's going to do. They cannot say we are scrapping everything because we have no money. No. Like now, there are things which are very important. You cannot scrap having the office of the member of parliament. You cannot scrap having a vehicle that moves an MP. You cannot scrap an iPad where an MP is going to have a meeting concerning the whole country on Zoom. You cannot remove those things. So even if you are planning and marginalizing everything, still you leave a gap to facilitate an officer who is delivering on the front. Short of that, you will have a country which is not progressing.
And if you could share with us as we move on from expenditure tools of the parliament, let us look at the humanitarian concern. You know, people also were concerned with the spending of the 200 million. Some people were demanding it actually, that maybe MPs should help out, because some members of parliament came out to portion part of this money to their constituencies, providing food. How could you respond to that? On a humanitarian basis. On a humanitarian basis, a member of parliament is not supposed to pay school fees. A member of parliament is not supposed to contribute at burial. A member of parliament is not supposed to build a school or a hospital. But on a humanitarian basis, he is an individual and he doesn't represent animals, he represents people. But part of his roles in the parliament, that one is not there. But once he gets money and the public gets to know that this man has gotten money and it is part of our tax, they normally demand a share. The public says, now, you have been telling us you don't have money, but we heard you were given 200 million. That's when an MP comes out and you have been seeing them buying ambulances. Yes, please.
But an MP is not supposed to buy an ambulance. Ambulance should be under the budget of the Minister of Health. But because he serves people and he doesn't want his people to die, he must also look after the lives of his people, to show care, to show that he is there for his own. So now, on a humanitarian basis, I call upon MPs. If you can have a balance on that money, at least do something to the public. Because now you cannot keep crying of no money, no money, no money, when money has just been given to you. But what I know, it is not mandatory. Because I know like a member of parliament from Clark in Amur district, the man bought a tractor. Out of the 200 million, he used like 150 or 60. He bought a tractor with hose, with everything.
To help the
to help the population. But that was out of his own consideration. If he wanted, he can eat all the money because it was his. There are also other MPs I have seen who have bought ambulances for their people. Then during this COVID lockdown situation, there are members of parliament who have used the part of the 200 million
to buy food,
for their people, food relief. Because you cannot enjoy the comfort of parliament when your people down are dying. Then who are you representing now? Are you representing graves? You need to represent people who are alive. So this is the situation whereby an MP, much as it's not your mandate written anywhere, but you should also think and look through and say, oh, according to the situation, let me use part of this money to save my people.
Very well. And we're still discussing on planning, processing and budgeting of parliament and entirely the government. I can say the constitution under the article 13, under the article 113 and 114, it gives a progressive to president to increase the number of ministers with approval of parliament. And we have seen it, the president increased the ministers from 79 to 80. How fair is this? I mean, how welcoming is this to the people? Because the public is claiming, now you see we don't have a lot of funding, you're increasing people, and then we will have an increasement towards the budgeting and towards the expenditure. I mean, does increasing ministers meet the demand of the population?
To increase the number of ministers or a number of MPs, the president does not do it in isolation. He does it after consultations. So when they add in a ministry, that ministry is relevant. Take an example, if they say we have added in a ministry of science and technology, where we are heading now here, we need technological advancement. You cannot say, this ministry is not needed, why have they added it? They discuss it in the cabinet and present it to parliament.
Yes, that's why I said it is approved by parliament as well. And one of the members of parliament, Odoi Fox, who is the honorable from northern Uganda, eastern side.
Fox Odoi comes from Udama here.
Yes.
Tororo, yes.
Yes, please, from the eastern side. And he was commenting that, services for effective growth of the population in regards to services, there needs an increase of leadership. How true is this?
You see, the Uganda then, when the Obotis were there, like the Uganda of 10 million, Uganda of 14 million, of course, even the leadership was minimal compared to the number of people. But currently, the population stands at 43, 45 million. Now, as the population increases, also the demand for services increases. That's why you see we have had an increasing number of administrative units. Now we have cities, now we have town councils, there are very many, we have municipalities. They don't put all these things to benefit President Museveni. They put all these administrative units to bring services closer to a population which has become bigger. In an area where you used to serve like 1 million, you find people are 5 million. So with these 5 million people living together, they need an administrative unit. That's why you see, when they are giving a town council, a municipality, a city, they look at the number of people, they look at the area of coverage. These are the factors they consider. They look at the economic activity taking place, then they say, okay, this one they deserve an administrative unit. So even ministers, they look at a gap and they say which gap is supposed to be filled.
It was actually the elderly.
Yes. Now creating the space for the elderly, really a person should not complain. Even all of us who are here, we have our elders, we have our judges, we have our parents who have grown old. And if you get this old person and you categorize him with the youth and other categories, he will end up being marginalized. And remember, it is only Uganda, I think we are adapting a good system now. Okay. It is only Uganda where we don't have the serious consideration of the elderly. In other countries, they have special services and benefits for these senior citizens. Because whatever we are
at least we also have the SAGE.
Yes, now we have put the SAGE. Actually, His Excellency is considering the elders. He has put the SAGE. Now he's putting up the ministry which looks into their issues. Why? These are senior citizens who laid the foundation of this country. Wherever we are, they were there before. So they created a platform such that we can have a safe landing. Now when you start isolating them, marginalizing them, then you are marginalizing yourself. Because these are the people who have laid the foundation for the Uganda you are seeing today. They were there before you were there. So they protected whatever you have found here. Whatever you are seeing.
Why does it have to come now? Like, isn't it too late? If you're saying they've been there, doesn't the consideration come at a later stage?
You see, there is what an Englishman says, better late
than never.
So yes. Instead of having a flat situation without consideration, I think now we are coming up with the ministry, with the SAGE programs. Even other considerations are coming in. Okay. Yes.
And basically now, let me take you, Engineer, to what is happening around the country and the situation we're in regards to hosting refugees as a host community. The country hosts over 2 million refugees, at least annually now, according to the projections of the UN. And with the 2,000 Afghans who were, who have been on TVs, who have been on radios, who have been on reports coming to the country, and a day before, 51 arrived already in the country at Munyonyo Resort. That's where they at Imperial, that's where they will be staying in Entebbe. How has the government handled this well, or how can we even do it better? Do you think it is really taking the right path? Please advise on that.
You see, Uganda is a very good country. It is characterized with hospitable people. Uganda has very good people. They are good-hearted, they are welcoming. And on top of being welcoming, Uganda is a signatory to the UN Charter that considers people who are suffering and hosts them. So we signed that agreement. Then Uganda also has what they call the refugee law. This refugee law allows actually whoever is suffering outside and wants to be at least relieved, Uganda will always welcome them.
Whoever?
Yes. That's why you see, when people were discussing too much about Afghani refugees, on my side I was asking myself, why specifically people discuss too much about Afghani refugees? Because if there is a war in Congo, automatically people rush to Uganda and welcome them. If there is a war in Sudan, immediately they will come Sudanese to Uganda. But when they reached the Afghanis, people were discussing them with mixed reactions, as if Afghanis are different. But Uganda is a home to 1.5 million.
Even the fact that it is nowhere neighboring the country. You talked of Congo running through Kenya, South Sudan running through Rwanda, Burundi running through, because these are very close to the country. But I mean, why are you excusing Uganda?
When I talk of Uganda being a signatory to the UN Charter, the UN Charter considers the 196 countries of the whole world. So we signed.
Okay.
And that's why you see, even when there is a problem in Uganda, a Ugandan is free to seek asylum in Canada, seek asylum in America. You know, when you fight an Afghani coming to be hosted in Uganda, now should Uganda have a problem, where will you be hosted? Because you yourself will need to be hosted somewhere. So now, you begin by hosting others. Then even you, when you have a problem, in case you have one, they will also host you.
Does the article, the agreement, then mean that in case the president or the government or Uganda could have disagreed with hosting them, there could be consequences or problems?
If the government, either way, through, there is no way government can reject the refugees. Of course, there are other countries which said no. But for us, we signed an agreement. That's why you see, Parliament also asked the question. that why are you not asking us? They said we cannot ask you for permission because an agreement was done earlier. For you, we shall inform you. Then when we inform you, you will discuss the modalities on how to handle refugees. But you shall not ask for permission. That's why, and another thing, Uganda is not spending even a single penny on these refugees. The American government is going to spend everything. Actually, Uganda will benefit in terms of hosting. These people are going to eat, they will eat our food. They are going to sleep in a hotel where they are, it is a Ugandan hotel, and they are paying. And even all other services they would have, they will pay for them.
It's a temporary
The concern of the people was basically on security. When it comes to security matters are not discussed on TVs. Uganda, by saying you are most welcome, we also have the way we are prepared in terms of security. But you cannot sit here and start saying, you know, we shall do A, B, C, D as our strategy.
What do you mean security matters are not discussed on TV?
Afghanistan has a history, and it has the people, especially now who are in power, called the Taliban. They have been known for causing instability, for fighting, for years. Something like that. So now people are worried that people who have lived with the other ones, what if one of the other ones mixes with these ones who are coming and maybe causes trouble here in terms of security? No, that one we are prepared. We shall handle. And when it comes to security, please don't doubt His Excellency. Museveni is always prepared in terms of security.
I understand President Museveni was also there. Was it 2010, 2011 when we had the bombing? President Museveni was there. I don't think by then he would say that I was not prepared or...
You see, even if it is in your family, you can never get prepared for each and everything 100%. Of course, an error will be there. They are what they call operational errors. Such as small things can happen. But that does not mean that we are not prepared.
Okay.
Yes, but we are prepared in terms of security, in terms of hosting. When you are going to host a visitor and it's you inviting him, you prepare for where he can sleep, how he will
So you are assuring that the country is well prepared?
The country is too safe. Afghanis, they are like any other human being, and we shall host them here in Uganda like any other refugee. Then after the tenure, because America was looking at 3 months or more of them being here. Again, they were not even being called refugees. They are being called, they are seeking asylum seekers.
They are asylum seekers.
So being asylum seekers, they have a specific period they are going to be here. Then later they will be taken. That's why you are seeing they have not been taken to camps. Like Rhino camp in Arua, like Bidi in Yumbe, like in Achival here in Sindiro. They have not been taken to camps. They are asylum seekers.
They are temporary
here. And America will cater for any expenditure that is related to their cause. And Uganda is saying the space is here, the hotel is here, food is, everything is here. Come and feel at home.
Okay.
So I'm not seeing any problem as to why Afghani refugees are becoming a very, very big topic. People are just worried, but also some people are happy. I heard some people in the public saying these are very beautiful women. They are most welcome. So there is also a mixed reaction.
Surely those ones can never go unnoticed. But at least you have shined a light on why Uganda is the host, because of the agreement we are having. Yes. We are having with the US the US government. And I can say that we are concluding. Time is really not on our side. Please give us your last submissions and then I let you go.
My last submission is an appeal to Ugandans. I have a simple statement. If the best of what you want is not available, the available becomes the best.
If the best of what
you want is not available, the available becomes the best.
Okay.
Because now you can say, this government is bad, this government is overspending, this government is doing ABCD, but do you have an alternative government to come and take you through what you want? Because this one at least can show you what it has done. Now even you, why can't you bring your view, such that your view is also integrated in the national view to have a better Uganda? Because we have different visions, like Vision 2040. It aims at transforming Uganda from a peasantry society to a modern, prosperous, harmonized, peaceful, stable Uganda. And you cannot achieve all that when you are alone. It must be collective effort. So now, instead of criticizing the government, let us come out with ideas on how we can do it better. If we are criticizing that this thing is not being done very well, tell us how well should it be done. Don't just simply say, you are very bad, what I know you should go where?
And where should people reach out? If you're telling them to come out, where should they reach out? Especially if they want to present some issue.
There are very many platforms of government where you can air your views.
Okay.
Because the government has different units and different leaders. MPs, the president, office of the president, anti-corruption units, IGGs. So wherever you see, if corruption is a problem, don't just criticize and sing corruption every day. No. Which initiatives have you made to make sure that this corruption is fought?
Okay, and that pins you to a challenge, or pins all of us to a challenge, what we are contributing towards.
What are we contributing towards a better Uganda? If Uganda is overspending, you come out and say, here you are overspending, there you are guiding. But now instead of guiding, most Ugandans prefer to criticize whatever is there as if there is no government, as if there is nothing. Yet there is something visible in place.
Surely, and I hope they have taken the point, Engineer.
Yes.
Thank you so much for making it through with us this particular
welcome.
day.
Thank you.
And that is it. We've been discussing the fairness of the Parliament budget in Uganda. My name is RITAH KABANYORO. Coming up on your screen will be Jerome Posonko with sport.